Hi, Gerhard Bloom here, once again, looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. I'd like to look at the fusion of postmodernism with neo-Marxism and briefly talk about Matt Walsh's film, What is a Woman? If you haven't seen the film, see it. It's compelling, it's engaging, and it's funny. Here's the issue, right? And no, he's not attacking anyone. He's not vilifying anyone. Nobody's being made unsafe, right? What he does is he goes out and he asks the experts, right? World-renowned experts. These guys, years of study, PhDs, these are the experts. And the question he poses is, well, what's a woman, right? You have Matt Walsh talking to women at the Women's March, right? So you're at the Women's March. What is it you're supporting here, right? What's a woman? So they're completely unable to answer, right? They're puzzled. He asks professors, world-class experts. Now, up until yesterday, your kids would have known in a moment, at a glance, that the bearded man in the dress is not a woman, right? The bearded guy with the dick, not a woman, right? This is obvious, right? So how does this happen, right? How does this happen, right? World-renowned experts can't explain what a woman is. Well, this is postmodernism. Postmodernism, relativism, deconstructionism, social constructivism, same, they're all variations on the similar theme, right? For these relativists, the postmodernists, right, this is a view that all discourses of history, science, ethics, medicine, are simply regimes of truth, right? And they're epistemes, right? They're regimes of truth, and they're saturated with ideological interests, right? Under this description, observations are never neutral, but theory-laden, right? And theories, in turn, are never neutral either. Right? Theories are the expression, allegedly, of social and ideological interests. And if objective truth is revealed to be a myth, what then? Right? So we have a problem. And one of the major figures in this fusion of cultural Marxism with postmodernism is Michel Foucault, right? For Michel Foucault, you have the fusion of power and knowledge, right, which constructs these various epistemes. And in creating a structure of knowledge, allegedly of knowledge, you have standards of evidence and truth that are internal to this regime of truth, but aren't, strictly speaking, neutral or unbiased or objective, right? Well, this is absolute nonsense. Western science, and yes, science is Western, although it has, meaningful contributions from other civilizations. Science as we know it is Western science, as is medicine. Now, there are standards of evidence in science and in medicine, right? Theories, strictly speaking, you can't say that they're proven true, right? There are theories that have a stability and a central place in scientific theorizing because they have yet to be proven false. Everything we know about the world is consistent with certain theories, and nothing we know about the world is inconsistent with these theories. Ergo, they have a degree of stability that, for all intents and purposes, they can be deemed true, right? Now, this is radically different than this notion of very different epistemes, right? So you get cancer or you get seriously ill. Now you've got a choice. You can go to see an African witch doctor who's going to wave some chicken bones over your head and mumble some incantatory phrases, or you can go to a hospital and get treatment. Well, the evidence is in, and this is unbiased as anything you can imagine, right? When you compare outcomes, Western medicine wins hands down. And Western medicine has drastically improved, and we have every reason to believe that improvements in Western medicine will continue, right? The advances in medicine and advances in science are absolutely staggering. But according to these radical epistemology, this radical epistemology, this relativism, something like mathematics is racist, right? Mathematics doesn't have, Western mathematics doesn't have any universal privilege, right? This is just mathematics supports, and this has been argued, this is not me inventing things, it has been argued that mathematics is racist because it upholds white power and white privilege. You know what else mathematics holds up? It holds up high-rise apartment buildings and suspension bridges. The mathematics better be right. And you can better believe that in Africa, when they're building high-rise apartment buildings and suspension bridges, they're using the same mathematics as people here are using. And if not, the buildings are going to crumble. There's no culturally different or variant on this particular theme. There's mathematics and there are pretenders to the game. It's absolute nonsense. And speaking of medicine, right? In Africa today, there are people who will kill little infant albino children. They will kill them to use them in their medical remedies, right? This is a horrific practice. This goes on, and because of this relativism, our postmodernists, neo-Marxists can't say a damn thing about it, right? Because it's a practice internal to their understanding, and from our situated understanding, we can't presume to judge. Well, I can presume to judge. I do judge. I condemn it. And these people need to be educated in both morals and in science, right? There is a problem when you kill innocent people to advance your interests, right? This is immoral, and it's universally true, whether they recognize it or not. Just like 2 and 2 and 4 is a fact that applies whether or not you believe it. Killing innocent people to advance your instrumental interest is evil, and it's universal, right? So under this guise, you have leftists now arguing that all Western history can be reduced to nothing more than the shameful and naked exploitation and the domination of peoples of color, right? Well, before I forget, I may have mentioned this on a previous podcast, but for the Marxists, they think all of human history has been the singular narrative of the oppressed and the oppressors, right? The oppressors now are the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, and the oppressed, the proletariat. And by virtue of the fact that the proletariat was ideologically co-opted by virtue of their tremendous rise in material wealth and well-being, leftists came along, leftists were left scratching their head and wondering what happened here. Instead of saying, well, maybe this oppression narrative is absolutely delusional. No. They were convinced that people are systematically oppressed. And who's systematically oppressing them? Well, I am, because I'm a white heterosexual male, right? So the Western world, it's the white patriarchy dominating and exploiting everyone. Well, this is utter nonsense. And I did mention this previously, right? If the institutions of the United States were designed to keep people of color down and exploit them, how is it the case that there are a number of ethnic groups in the United States that are not white, that are outcompeting whites on average, right? Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Indian, and Nigerian communities, on average, their children do better in school, get better grades, and the parents earn higher incomes, right? So if the institutions were designed to privilege white people, they weren't designed very well at all, right? This is absolute nonsense. So with this, another idea to drop out on you, right? For Marx famously said, all that exists deserves to perish, right? All that exists deserves to perish. Why? Everything that exists deserves to perish because it's all implicated in oppression. And this very much is a philosophy that these deluded leftists are carrying forth, right? So they take this ideology, and we've seen how it works in science, right? Where you have scientists, doctors, who can't tell you what a woman is, right? It's a lie. Because they think, for leftists and this radical gender theorizing, they think that gender categories are oppressive, right? They're reductive and oppressive, and it's just a way of manipulating and suppressing people's freedom. No. This is science. You're born a man, you're born a woman, and in our societies now, you can love who you want, you can dress the way you want. If you're a man, stay out of the woman's changing rooms, right? There should be a reasonable limits on this. But for these deluded leftists, no. You know, the bearded man with the dick can go into the woman's changing room because he's a woman. And we see this mirrored in the world of historical analysis, right? Or historiography, right? You get something like this in the 1619 Project, which is just a shameless mischaracterization, a fraudulent narrative constructed with a leftist ideological intent, right? So the lesson they learned from Marx is that all narratives are ideological constructions, right? The fact that these leftist narratives, like the 1619 Projects, are highly curated is besides the point, right? For the Marxist, with this cynical view of history, socially sanctioned historical analysis was simply the self-justifying story the victors told the oppressed, right? And the historian, all pretenses to objectivity aside, is simply the public relations spokesman for the ruling elite. So historiography, we are told, is necessarily saturated with ideological interest. Critical or theoretically informed analysis, Marxist analysis, reveals history to be the narrative of both oppression and the ideological mystification of this oppression. And so, with each proliferating identity group feels compelled to construct their own critical history. And each in its own way has been oppressed and continues to be marginalized, excluded, and set upon by the dominant male patriarchy, right? So, having purportedly exposed standard historical narratives as ideological mystifications, the current critical narratives need not pretend to answer to a standard of truth that is, so it is argued, never really existed, right? So having been fed a steady diet of postmodernism, these apostles of progress don't feel the least bit responsible to adhering to scholarly standards of evidence. This, remember, is a contest of power, not of truth, right? So these new narrative constructions or reconstructions are contributions in an ideological war, right? They're not dispassionate projects in rational inquiry, right? This is scholarship as activism. So the obvious anti-Western bias and the internal contradictions in this enterprise are never acknowledged, right? And this is absolutely shameful. Of course, previous historical analysis has been flawed, right? That's why there are new historians and new examinations of history. Just as in science, where you have competing theories in the contest of ideas, right? One theory contesting with another, which explains the evidence better, which is more true to the facts that we know them. Are new facts available that undermines the previous theories, right? This is the same. The same is true in historiography, right? Historians don't make a name for parroting the same vision or analysis as their predecessors, right? They make a name by bringing new perspectives and new evidence to light and taking a critical inquiry into previous historical narratives. This is the contest of ideas, and this keeps science, mathematics, history honest, right? This keeps it honest. What is happening now, as the universities have been entirely co-opted by this leftist ideology, is this contest of ideas has stopped. I find it deeply, deeply troubling that I can't trust the medical community. They've lied about COVID. The narratives that they continue to push out, this nonsense that men can become pregnant, right? Men can't become pregnant. They're lying. They know it. You know it. And this is absolutely toxic. When we can't trust the experts, it's a problem, because there may be a serious pandemic around the corner, and we can't trust the experts to tell us what the truth is. And when they deny obvious facts about biology, it's a problem, right? They've renounced their duty to the truth for the sake of advancing this absolutely poisonous ideology. Remember, I mentioned previously, you might not care about this ideology, but this ideology very much cares about you, your sexual life, your gender, your family, your religion, the rule of law, individual rights, sports, entertainment. This ideology is absolutely cancerous, and we need to wake up to the fact that this needs to be fought back, and it won't stop until people start standing up to this nonsense. When men want to get into women's shower rooms, they should be told in a very stern way, no. The men's room is that way. I don't care whether you're wearing a skirt and high heels or not. Anyways, this poisonous nonsense has got to be fought. It is tearing away at the foundations of Western civilization, and this is no exaggeration. Anyways, thank you very much for your time. I hope you'll drop a thumbs up. I see people watching the videos. I just don't see people dropping the thumbs up. And please do check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. It's important, not because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues are important. Thank you very much for your time.